in like that control of the space as well. Another little scenario now, and I think I picked this one because post 16. Put your hand up if this is an issue in your place where you work. Passivity, so like kids not like actively engaging in things. How does that translate for you in your environment?
Well, I teach like GCSE English, so they don't want to be in the class. It's activity because it's like to go alongside the vocation. So a lot of them, obviously, when you've been told that you failed the subject, they don't want to be there, and they're just there to get the mark, and they're just not participating as they should be.
I texted my mum earlier actually because she, at the last 10 years of her career, she did like sixth form only. And I said to her, I'm doing this presentation about post-16 teachers on behaviour management. She said, good luck with that, exclamation mark, classic mum. And she said, my way was based on mutual respect, I think, exclamation mark, although I did have to have 3 lads removed once. They came in drunk after lunch. Hope it goes well, XXX. But I think passivity is, for me, I'd say in my career, passivity, excuse the phrase, this is being recorded, doesn't matter, piss me off more than like someone telling me to F off. If I walk into a room and everyone is just like, they're compliant, write the title, do this, they're compliant, but that used to annoy me more than like a few kids in the room being like really aggressive, and I just saw that as part of a challenge of the job. But when everyone was passive, it used to frustrate me. Now, one thing that I mean, how would you deal with that? How do we deal with passivity? Those people who said they've experienced it. I mean, some people who said they've not. So, in terms, what about you? Passivity?
Yeah, with certain students, but I feel like it's
on the whole,
don't want to be there. Like,
yeah.
If you teach quite a dull topic, which sometimes you can get stuck with, I think it's just how creative you are within your lesson and how like interactive you make your lessons as well.
Yeah, I think that comes back to the planning angle as well, because like when I mentioned structure, I think if you like chunk things up a bit more, it can help with that a bit in terms of, right, we're moving, we're transitioning. If you go in a lesson, you have 0 transitions. Right, okay, we start the lesson, there's a task, get on with it, 50 minutes. For students who are already in that mindset, but funnily enough, I think the older you get, because you think university level, it moves in that direction, doesn't it? No transitions. It's like 2 hours, off you go. Or lecture, 1 hour, off you go. And maybe as we move through towards post-16, post-18, we move further towards that direction. And I'm saying that in the current climate post-COVID, where they have had that for the last 2 years, and they thought, oh, I'm used to this now. I'll mute my mic, I'll have a drink of Diet Coke and like relax, and I'll come back with 5 minutes to go to the lesson or whatever, right? Getting away with it online, basically. I think they've come back in and like they're going to test that system. And I was talking to you guys earlier, and you were saying like you're oversubscribed, or there's a lot of kids coming through APs now. So I think that schools are struggling. I think that we need to be aware of that. And I've put a few things down here for me with passivity. It's like the do now task on entry. I mean, it's pretty like, it's not rocket science, but having something for them to do when they walk in on a piece of paper or on the board, or like it can be anything. And one that I really like that I've used a lot in my career, I don't know if you've heard of Paul Guinness. He's passed away sadly now, but he was outstanding. He wrote a book called Teacher Toolkit. It's a big like black and white book. You've probably seen it on shelves and whatever, but it is vintage and it is classic. I mean, I'm sure it'd get knocked out the park nowadays like a little bit in terms of, oh, it's too progressive and it's too, well, no, I actually, and I'm quite traditional when it comes for behaviour, and some of the tactics and strategies in that were the best ones I've seen. And one of them, start of the lesson, which I really like because it involves 0 preparation, is Spotlight, where you ask someone, an individual, like 5 questions, and then everyone else kind of whiteboards, if you've got them, are best for this, but they put a tick or a cross or a question mark, and then they hold it up after each question, whether they think that person has got it right or not. So that's really good, because in your head, you don't need to prepare for that. You know the questions already. So I'm lazy. I don't want to be sitting there the night before, like going on some retrieval practice site and typing in 20 questions. I'll just come in and I'll be like, right, I've just done a lesson now with you. I'm teaching online at the minute, so I've just done a lesson 5 minutes ago. Starter was, right, 5 minutes. retrieve 5-minute spotlight, My Lai massacre, ask one person the 5 questions, all the others put whiteboards up. I'm zooming into a classroom, by the way, so they're not at home, but they all put whiteboards up. And then obviously I can see straight away, right, how many of these students are getting this. So then I can gauge that lesson moving forward. That's a good one. But a do now task, really powerful. Don't mistake studious introvert for disengaged. And I put that one on there, and this again is more me, but sometimes we can look at a class and go, oh, they're all quiet, like they're disengaged and whatever. But actually they might be just thinking about it, and they might be more introvert. And sometimes we're quite like, you know, the idea of, oh, they're not putting their hands up or they're not engaged. Well, a lot of them might be engaged, they're just not showing you that they're engaged. So I got frustrated at a school I was in years ago, and at the end, I remember weeks ago by, and I'd be like, oh, I'm so frustrated teaching. And then when I left, the kids were like, oh, coming up to me like, oh, loved your lessons. So, did you? Yeah, really, did you? Are you sure? Yeah. Here's a pack of Diet Coke, thank you. Because I used to just drink too many of them. But it surprised me, because I was going, I hate this lot. I love them really, love all students. But I was going, this lot, bloody hell, I'm going in every lesson, it's a drag. And then at the end they were going, oh, this was so good. Like, that's the first time I've seen you say anything to me in like a year. That's, I guess that was a warning to me. That's something I learned. That was my mistake. Because I remember saying at the end to all the staff in the speech I made at the end, I said, oh, Jade came up to me and was like, oh, you know, your lessons were great. And all the staff are going, yeah, and I'm going, well, she doesn't like, she's one of the, not the bad ones, but she's quite passive. She doesn't, is she? And I'm going, sugar, that's me, that's on me, that. And Jade's a history teacher now. So consistency in planning and delivery. I mean, these are all obvious. I'm not going to read them all out, but regular check. Mini whiteboards are great. I don't know if you've used them, but I use them loads. I actually had to buy my own set, to be honest, in the last school. I bought my own set. I used to lug them around in the COVID trolley, you know, and dish them out every lesson in different classrooms. It was horrible, but mini whiteboards are brilliant. Humour is probably like one of the most underrated tools for classroom management in the world. And don't be afraid to use, we mentioned the sanctions already. I like this one. This was off Twitter. Relentlessly not allowing it, no opting out, lots of turn and talk. Followed by precise questions. Energy, even when you're not getting it back. That is super difficult, though. To put that energy across every single lesson. That's why it's hats off to those teachers who do that. I know my dad did that. You know, he was in the same school for 34 years, and I know that after he was doing that, even at the he was putting in that same energy. He was knackered, but he was still doing it because that's what he felt he needed to do. Try to raise that energy level. It's difficult, though. Really difficult. I won't go through that because we've already mentioned it.